You're listening to the Cyberwire Network, powered by N2K.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to N2K Cyberwire's Hacking Human podcast, where each week we look behind the social engineering scams, phishing schemes, and criminal exploits that are making headlines and taking a heavy toll on organizations around the world. I'm Maria Varmazis, doing a lousy Dave Bittner impression as he is out on vacation this week. With me is the one and only Joe Kerrigan. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Maria. I think you're doing a great Dave Bittner impression.
Well, thank you very much. I just went into Elvis for some reason because, he is the king, right?
That's right.
Well, thank you for joining me, Joe. And we've got some interesting stories to share this week. We will be right back after this message from our show sponsor.
And now, a few thoughts from our sponsors at ThreatLocker. The tactics used by cyber criminals are becoming more and more advanced every day. The shift from a default allow approach to a default deny is more critical than ever. This is where ThreatLocker comes in. Stay tuned for how ThreatLocker allow listing and ring fencing has your back.
Okay, we're back, and we have some follow-up that is taking
Quite
us
a bit of follow-up.
Quite a bit of follow-up. This is way back machine. A longtime listener, Rob, gave us the blessing to read his message on the air. So the title of his email was How Hacking Humans is Saving Us Over $120 a Year. Spammy title, but true. That got my attention.
Okay.
I got socially engineered really well. And this is what he wrote. He said, I maintain the website for my wife's psychiatric nurse practice. We had a very simple brochure site using WordPress on a large hosting provider that was costing us over $100 a year. It's pretty, standard.
Yep.
It was way more service than what we needed, but all the other alternatives seemed to be equally expensive. It was a lot of work keeping WordPress locked down. Good for you for locking it down.
Yeah, it
when
is.
When Dave mentioned static site generators in the November 3rd, 2022 show, it caught my... I was not here for that.
I don't remember that.
So Dave, the person who said this thing, is not on our show today because he's on vacation.
Right.
Neither of us recall. This is great. But it caught Rob's attention. I started looking into Hugo and static site generators. By the way, Rob, I use Hugo, so good choice. It took 2 years of false starts and feeling in way over my head, but ultimately I decided Hugo and similar static site generators were a little too difficult for me to manage, but looking for alternatives led me to a similar solution called Publi. Publi with two I's. Publi.
Yes.
Publi
like
is a Publi. Oh, yeah, okay. I like it.
Does Pompeii have two eyes or? I can't remember.
That maybe. I hope it doesn't have anything to do with a cataclysmic death by volcano. But Publi is a free WYSIWYG desktop program that designs and publishes a site to a GitHub repository. Then the GitHub repo can sync to Cloudflare pages, resulting in Cloudflare. I can't say Cloudflare this morning.
You're right.
In Cloudflare hosting the site for free. $120 a year might not seem like a lot, but for a small business, we need to save everywhere we can. Thanks for the show, and thanks for the savings. We are not sponsored by Publi at all. This is just a...
I think I vaguely remember we were talking about this because I was working on a nonprofit project where we were... Because I've had a similar issue with a nonprofit project where we were trying to do. It's called Crypto Done Right, and if you Google it, you'll find it.
Google that.
It's not really active right now because nobody has time. It's hard to get together with people. But
look at this.
The problem is that the last thing in the world we want to do is maintain something like a WordPress site, because Rob is 100% correct. Keeping that locked down and keeping up on that and making sure that you're up on all the security updates.
Pain.
That's a full-time job. I mean, that's, if you have the resources to do that, great. But if you're a small business, that is not what you need. What you need is a static website. And if you're a small nonprofit, that's also what you need. So we actually wound up using GitHub as our repository, and I don't remember what the solution was that pulled it and pushed it to pulled it from the GitHub and pushed it up to the web server was, but I think that's automated.
The thing I love about your site and pretty much every static site is how fast they are.
Yeah,
especially compared to how WordPress sites are now. They're so bloated.
That's
so
correct.
Slow.
There is no There is no database behind it. It's just serving out web pages. It comes up
it's
really
like the
quickly.
90s all over again.
Right, yeah. It's back when the internet was good, Maria.
I know. I remember it well. No, I also like static site generators. I use Hugo for my own stuff. There's a little bit of a heavy lift if you're not, I'm not going to say it's like easy peasy, but I love this alternative Publi. That's a really interesting idea. Again, we're not sponsored by them. We're not getting any money from them. I haven't tried it, but cool. That's great. Rob, I'm glad we were able to help you out. That's awesome. All right. So that's it for follow-up. Joe, let's go into your story now. So regale me with your tale for today.
Okay. So I saw this one and I did a little search and I was immediately wanted to know more about this scam. Because Maria, right now eggs are very expensive. We've mentioned that a couple times on the show. Yeah, I went into a store and saw them priced at $9.50 a dozen.
Yep, which they're over $11 in a lot of places where I'm at now. Yeah,
yeah. I went into an Aldi around here, and they were like $5.50 for a dozen eggs at an Aldi.
Wow, and that's Aldi.
That's Aldi, right? So I was. The $9.50 is not a representative price for this area, but they are still high. And Maria, I don't know if you know this about me, but I've always been a big fan of chickens. And
so I was asked to ask you about cowboy hats again this week, but now I'm going to add chickens. I
like to get my cowboy hat on and go out and tend to some chickens. So my daughter has bought a house up in this area where I live now. We've moved up so we can be closer to them. And on my daughter's land with the county that we live in, I just found out she can literally have unlimited chickens because she has more than 3 acres of land. So
unlimited chickens.
Unlimited chickens. Now,
that's a retirement plan right there right now.
That's right. So actually, we've been wanting to do this for a while, and my daughter and her husband are actually building a chicken coop on their property. Nice. And we're actually in the process of planning out getting chickens. So, and one of the reasons we're kind of accelerating this now is because of the price of eggs. But even if the price of eggs weren't this high, we'd still be buying chickens.
Sure. Now I want you to go down the rabbit hole and tell me what kinds of chickens you like.
My favorite kind of chicken is the Polish chicken. Have you ever seen
chicken?
Polish chicken?
Let me Google that.
Google
I'm
Polish
going to look
chicken.
it up. Polish chicken.
Are crested chickens, and they look hilarious.
That is... I feel like you undersold that a little bit.
Right.
They are utterly ridiculous looking. Wow. Okay. I mean, I've heard of a Polish falcon, but a Polish chicken.
And I don't know if the chickens are actually from Poland, but that's what they're called here in America is Polish chickens.
Wow.
And they're beautiful. And like the golden lace Polish chicken is one of my favorite breeds of chickens, but
they look like they have a spray of peacock feathers, but like regular, like feather, like golden colored peacock feather spray on their head.
Yes, exactly.
It's a lot. It's a lot going on up there.
It is. And sometimes you can't see their eyes. They just look like, they're just wandering around blindly because the feathers get in their eyes, but I think they can see just fine. Because their eyes are actually on the sides of their head. But the kinds of chicken, we're not getting Polish chickens because Polish chickens, the eggs Polish chickens lay are actually very small eggs. So we're getting laying chickens called Wyandotte, which are also equally beautiful chickens. Except they're not crested, so they don't have the cool.
Oh, those are lovely.
feathers.
See, that looks like like the black and white mottled feathers with the red comb. That looks like a chicken. That's like a chickeny chicken.
That's a chickeny chicken, exactly.
That's a
good way to put it.
I'm sure this is what our listeners come to us for.
That's why
Chicken
they come.
Talk.
Chicken Talk. Welcome to Chicken Talk. I'm Joe.
Cluck, 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 cluck. I'm Maria.
All right. So this story from Elise Haas talks about Fiona Hibbard, who has plenty of space on her property called Sweet Home. A lot of people like to name their properties. I haven't picked a name for my new house, but my last house was Stately Kerrigan Manor. After the Batman Stately Wayne Manor.
Very nice.
So Fiona says that she says these chickens, or she wants to get some chickens, and she has all these egg shortages, of course. So she gets on to, wait for it, Facebook Marketplace.
Never.
And there's multiple people selling hens, right? Never.
Yep.
Why would
Never
you buy
millions.
hens? Okay, I'm going to say this. Mistake number one is going on Facebook Marketplace to buy a chicken, a live chicken, or even a dead chicken, a slaughtered chicken. If you're going to buy, I wouldn't even buy eggs on Facebook Marketplace. Although actually maybe I would. It depends on. Well, anyway, now I'm going back. Now we're going back to chicken talk.
And now we're going back to chicken talk. Yeah, okay.
Hacking humans, not chicken talk. Now here's the first pun. I'm going to read directly from this article. In her haste to get some hens, Hibbard said she fell victim to some foul play. Get it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. Okay. Yep.
But she said she ignored the red flags, such as the sellers only accepting payments via apps like Zelle, Venmo, or Chime, which often led to rejected transactions and hidden fees, as crate returns and shipping were part of the scam. They were part of this demand for money. So these guys were demanding money up front for crate returns and shipping. So you can order.
What is crate returns? Is this a chicken thing? Okay.
Yep, that is a chicken thing.
It's a chicken thing. All right, I'm learning so much.
So you can buy online or buy remotely chicks, little baby chickens, and they come delivered in a little tiny crate that keeps them safe in transport. And it's like a plastic crate. And it's a walled crate with a little roof on top. And then you pull the roof off, and lo and behold, there were all your little chicks, all your little peeps in there.
Right, because you can get chicks by mail. That's like one of my favorite jokes, chicks by mail.
Right. This reminds me of something Bruce Schneier said when he bought an ant farm. He said you buy an ant farm, and everybody looked at it and said, "Yo, you send away for the ants." And Bruce Schneier said, "I realized that for $10, I could send anybody I want in the world a tube of ants, live ants." So you could do the same thing with chickens, I guess. Although if somebody did that to me, I'd be like, all right, more chickens.
Yeah, you'd be happy about it.
I would be. So anyway, those crates are not disposable. They're reusable. So you need to send the crates back. Plus, the cost of shipping live animals, you have to move the animals fast, right? You can't.
Of course.
You can't send them UPS ground, right? They have to be. They have to be shipped.
All right. So shipping is expensive. The crates, I presume, are expensive
and the crates
to replace.
Are recycling. So these guys, scammers are asking for this stuff up in front.
Okay.
And
would that set off a red flag for you as a chicken guy?
I don't know. That's a good question. This might work on me.
Yeah.
If I was going to buy chickens remotely from, I would have to have a trusted source on this. You
have to have a chicken guy as a chicken guy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
You have to have a chicken guy. So
you got to know a guy. All right.
You can go into I always say Harbor Freight, but it's not Harbor Freight. It's Tractor Supply. You can go to Tractor Supply around this time of year and walk in, and they'll just have chicks in the back, and then you can pick up the chicks, buy the chicks right there, and walk out with chickens.
And for our listeners outside of the U.S., those are two stores that are. How does one describe Harbor Freight and Tractor Supply? Like
Harbor
farm
Freight
and general yardware supply stores. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Harbor Freight's like a tool store.
Yeah.
And then Tractor Supply is like kind of like a farm or yard store.
Yeah, like we have them here even in eastern Massachusetts, which is not where you usually think of farms.
Right.
So it's not. So they're kind of everywhere. But yeah, there are a lot of like stuff you need for your yard, but also if you have chickens, you can get chicken stuff.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So for our non-US listeners, yep.
And on the eastern shore of Maryland, chicken is a big industry down there. In fact, that's where we might be getting some of our chickens.
I'm learning so much about chickens today. I hope I think we should just let our listeners know at the top of the show, this is a chicken episode.
Right.
So if you're anti-chicken, please go elsewhere.
Right.
Okay.
So Miss Hibbard says she started to realize this may have been a scam, or this was a scam, in the process of looking at these accounts when one of them said, okay, I'll tell you what, rather than sending us money, why don't you buy us a gift card? And she was like, a gift card? Wait a minute.
Where aren't these gift card scammers at this point?
I don't know.
They've infiltrated every subculture there is. They've gotten to the chicken guys.
Right. Well, what's happening here is the scammers are looking at the news. They're seeing that they're watching social media. They're seeing people are buying chickens because of the egg shortage.
Oh my God. They're news tracking. Okay. Yep.
And they're news tracking. Exactly. And then they're just getting on Facebook Marketplace and looking at people who are selling chickens. They're probably just taking the pictures from those sellers, and they're looking and saying, well, how do these guys make their money? Oh, look, shipping and crate return fees. Ooh, that would be good. If we could get shipping and crate return sent to us, then we could make money on this and never send anybody any chickens. And that's how this works.
How does this scam scale, though? I mean, honestly, what is it?
It doesn't scale magnificently, but the thing that everybody has to remember.
How much money can you possibly make from this? Yeah.
I mean, they've actually, Hibbard says she lost $200 in this scam.
Oh, okay.
And maybe it took a week or two for that to happen. But remember, these scammers, this is their full-time job. They're not just scamming one person. They're scamming everybody they can at the same time. There are call centers that do this. So they're out there just, this person has made $200 over the course of, let's say it took a month to scam $200 out of Miss Hibbard. This person is doing this to like 5 other people, and they're scamming, so maybe $1,000 a month out of somebody. And they live in a country where the average revenue or average income is like $5,000 a month. So they're scamming somebody out of $12,000 a year.
It's a lot.
They're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
We think here in America where we have money to be scammed out of, right?
For now.
For now, right? That why would anybody be interested in this small amount of money? Well, that is not a small amount of money to everybody in the world. It's a large amount of money. It can change someone's day or change someone's life. So, whatever you're interested in, this is really the point of my story today. I like chickens. There's an egg shortage, right? This is the point of my story today. I like chickens. That's a terrible way to say it. Okay, so I like chickens. There's an egg shortage. Those two things are coming together so that the scammers are saying, I'm going to scam the people like Joe during this egg shortage so I can make some money. So I kind of take this one a little personally. I'm a little upset about it, actually.
Oh, well, that's fair. Yeah.
We haven't been scammed out of any money yet for chickens. So
we're planning on... Yeah, go ahead.
We're planning on driving to go get the chickens. We're not going to mail order chickens.
Yeah.
I could
totally see I could see a lot of people falling for this, like first time people who are very excited about having backyard chickens for the first time, who maybe are like, I read an article online, I'm sure I'll be fine, and this is what I'm going to do. And then wondering why their hen that they got is not laying any eggs. Like, well, I can guarantee you this is going to get a bunch of people. It's just so interesting to me. I just keep coming back to the idea that this is definitely, I mean, being a backyard chicken person is definitely a bit of a subculture. Not everybody has them, although a lot of people do. And it's just so fascinating that these scammers found the vulnerability in backyard chicken.
Backyard chickens, right? They left no stone unturned here.
Wow. You have to admire it in a weird way, but it's awful, but it's also like, wow, you guys figured this out. Jeez, imagine what they could do if they used their powers for good, right?
Right. We wouldn't have any scammers. That would be the first thing.
And then our show would be gone. Oh, all right, that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Joe, that was a great story, and I learned a lot about chickens today. And
I hope so.
And the Polish chicken is just made my day. So that's a great way to start.
They are great looking chickens.
They really are. Well, thank you for joining us for Chicken Talk today, everybody. I hope you enjoyed our show. And for those of you who are around for Hacking Humans, I actually have a story for you, but it is not chicken related.
Okay.
I'm gonna, Joe, you may want to sign off at this point. I don't know if you're going to want to.
All right.
Hear this
Goodbye,
one.
everybody. I'm going to listen because I do have an interest in other stuff. Yes.
Other stuff. Okay, good. All right. So my story comes from Edmund Brumagen at Cisco Talos Intelligence. And this was about frequently seen scams for online retail purchases. So a lot of times we see these kinds of articles, and this article points it out too. Usually when there's advice about protecting yourself from scams during, a retail transaction online, it's usually for those of us on the purchasing side of things, kind of like if you were buying chickens online, right?
Right.
But this I brought it back to chickens. This blog post from our friends at Talos notes that actually there are a lot of scams, increasingly a number of scams that are targeting sellers during online retail transactions. And I mean, this is not going to blow anyone's hair back going, what? But there are some really interesting new flavors of seller-targeted scams that this blog post highlighted, and I figured we'd go through some of them at a high level, just so folks can be aware. I think anyone who's been doing anything like eBay since the dawn of eBay knows that there are people who go after sellers. But there are a lot of sites now where you can sell stuff. I mean, Facebook Marketplace is one of them, but I mean, pretty much you name a site, there's usually a way that you can resell something on there. And scammers have taken note of this. So here are some of the things that this blog post highlighted. Mainly, if you are selling a lot of high value items, so like you're selling a really expensive guitar, scammers are going to look at you more closely because they presume that you have a big stack of cash somewhere from selling perhaps a number of high value items, and the attackers are going to go after you for it. So that's something to be aware of if you're selling this kind of stuff online. One thing that this blog post notes, not going to be a surprise for a lot of our listeners, is that a lot of phishing is happening targeting high value sellers via DM. So scammers use direct messaging features on online marketplaces to steal credit card information from seller payout accounts. So usually the message will be something impersonating the actual website itself. So one example they gave was reverb.com, which is, I guess, a buy and sell marketplace for musical instruments, especially like guitars. And the message will say something like, hey, seller, you need to verify or re-verify financial details in order to actually get the money from the sales that you are making.
I see.
And which, like that, if I was selling stuff worth a lot of money, I'd go, oh shit, I want to make sure I get my money.
You'd have my immediate attention.
Yeah, indeed. Right. And so the attackers will then use some interesting little link obfuscation techniques to make the link look like it's legitimate. So you'll see, like, for reverb.com, you'll see https reverb.com / and then a whole bunch of % obfuscation following.
Right.
So basically, if you just glanced at it, you'll see reverb.com and https. Oh my gosh, maybe I'm okay. But those % signs are obfuscating that actually, if you de-obfuscate that link, it is taking advantage of like a 302 redirect on the website, and actually taking you off site, which is something that we say a lot of times. Never let them take you to a second location.
Right, exactly.
So that is exactly where they're
taking advantage of something in reverb.com in their infrastructure.
Indeed.
that allows this link forwarding.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is where I'm way out of my zone here on redirects, because I think if you completely disabled redirects, you're going to break a lot of how websites work nowadays.
Right.
Redirects are kind of important for SEO and the like.
Yes.
I'm sure there, if you're super security aware, you could be like, I'm going to completely disable them, but then your entire web team will hate you. So I don't know. That might be one of those trade-offs that people make. So when you are taken to the phishing site, of course, it looks exactly like the legitimate thing. And here's where it starts getting like, of course, they reproduce the look of an AI chatbot in the lower right-hand corner, which we see them on every website now. And the phishing site goes, hello, I'm a personal support for sellers. Our payment system has changed. Because of this, seller accounts need to be re-verified. All payments will now be made directly to the seller's card. Close chat, click on the button and enter your card details. Follow the instructions from tech support so you don't make a mistake while verifying your profile. And then they kind of repeat that again, but the AI chatbot walks you precisely through how they want to phish you. And it goes on to say, our service cares about your safety and we do our best to make sure your transaction is secure. Thank you for your understanding. So, I mean, it seems almost legit-ish.
Right. And it looks convincing.
Yeah, it sure does. I'm looking at it right now and nothing about this looks off. The AI chatbot, I mean, it sounds a little too overeager. That might set off some red flags for me personally. But the fact that you see a little AI chatbot in the lower right-hand corner walking you through what it wants to do in a very friendly way, every website does that now. So, it's amazing how much that they've sort of figured out how to fool all of us. And one thing, so the phish works by, you put in your credit card information to re-verify your account. And then, of course, now the attackers have it.
Right.
And Talos then goes on to note that the attackers actually may choose to wait quite some time to withdraw funds from you until future sales occur because they're waiting for a bigger payout. So you may do this and go, oh, maybe that was fishy. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. And then you go, well, then nothing happened. So maybe it was fine.
Right.
But they're actually going to wait till later. So I thought that was interesting.
Your credit card has been compromised.
Just not yet. It has been, but you don't know it yet.
But
exactly.
You don't know
exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Other things that Talos notes in this blog post was about fraudulent chargeback emails. So if you're a retailer or you're selling online, one of the worst things that can happen is someone does a chargeback saying, basically, I want a refund for the thing I'm doing and I'm denying you the credit card charge. So if you get a chargeback email as a retailer and it goes action needed, you're going to take action on that right away.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's a fish. So another thing that they're noting is a lot of bad buyers are trying to skirt around security issues by using friends and family payment options. So all of us who've ever used PayPal who have said, I don't want to get a fee tacked onto this transaction, please use the friends and family or it's a gift option.
Right.
On some sites, if you use these friends and family options, you are not only skirting fees, but you're also skirting some seller protections. So you're making yourself less safe by using these options.
Yes.
Which I didn't know that. That was actually very interesting to me. That was new to me as well. And then another one that they're noting was shipment detail changes, which I can't believe this works, but apparently it does. So shipment detail changes happen when a scammer notices that a transaction has happened. They are not the ones that have done it, but they've seen that like an auction has closed. And they message the seller at the last minute saying, actually, I want you to send this high value item to a different address. And they'll use a username that looks a little bit like the correct buyer.
Right.
And they're hoping that if it's a high volume shipper, they're not going to notice that the username is slightly off.
Yes.
And I was just kind of going, how on earth does that actually work? How would the seller not notice that it's a different username? It's coming from a different inbox. But I'm guessing it does work if somebody's just doing a lot of transactions and they're not being very careful. So
yeah,
I don't know. That one's interesting to me. So as always, don't go to a second location. These platforms often do a lot of work, or one would hope that they do, to build in protections for buyers and sellers to slow down, if not stop, these scams. So if you leave the platform, you leave all that detection and prevention behind. So please don't.
Right. Absolutely.
There you go. All right. So before we get to our next story, let's take a quick break to hear a message from our sponsor.
So let's return to our sponsor, ThreatLocker. ThreatLocker is a zero-trust endpoint protection platform that strengthens your infrastructure from the ground up. Where traditional cybersecurity tools require you to create a list of things you don't want to run, ThreatLocker enables you to easily curate an allow list of everything you need in your environment and network, and block everything else by default. With ThreatLocker allow listing and ring fencing, you gain a more secure approach to blocking exploits of known and unknown vulnerabilities. ThreatLocker provides zero-trust control at the kernel level that enables you to allow everything you need and block everything else, including ransomware. The ThreatLocker Zero Trust Endpoint Protection Platform deploys in a learning mode that analyzes the operations of your company using machine learning to assist you in developing your allow list for approved applications, what they can do on the endpoint, what can interact with your data, and even east and west network traffic. We thank ThreatLocker for sponsoring our show.
Okay, we're back, and we have a catch of the day. Joe, what is our catch of the day?
Well, our catch of the day is a really simple catch of the day. It comes from Scott, who sent this along. He's and there's not much to this one in terms of content, but Scott's message is very illuminating. So I'll describe the message first before I read what Scott says. It says, "You're invited. Click on the invitation to see more details into RSVP, special party invitation from," I'm going to say Tamara. I'm not going to use the last name. And it just says you're invited and has an upside down candy corn in looking like a stamp that's been canceled. And it says open invitation. So
it's a Halloween party invite. What could go wrong?
It does look like a Halloween party invite. That's exactly what I said. But Scott says, my wife got an email from an acquaintance she's friends with. The email address was legitimate, inviting her to a party. The screenshot is below, and that's what I just described. I have instilled a healthy skepticism, and she looks at all messages as if they were spam, which is good. And she immediately thought it was suspicious. I had her forwarded to me so I could investigate it. When I went to one of my Linux computers and attempted to open the invitation, when I did, it said I needed to log in with my email address and gave me a login screen for my email address and some password. And I noticed the URL was redirecting me to some sketchy website for credential harvesting. Since these emails come from a legitimate address, no doubt harvested, which is probably correct, they may miss it. and enter their actual email credentials. So it's essentially just a credential harvesting email that looks like an invitation. And when you click on it, you get redirected to some place to log in to your email account again. So imagine you're on Gmail, you get this invitation, you click the link, and it takes you back to Gmail, what looks like the Gmail login screen. And you go, that's odd. I thought I was logged into Gmail. And you just enter username and password, and whatever happens next. But that's irrelevant. You've just given up your Gmail username and password.
Which is like the house keys for a lot of us, honestly.
Correct.
So
that is really bad. I think I've made a big point on this show, and I don't know if I've made a big enough point, but your email is the most important thing that you have on the internet. And it's also one of the worst things that you have on the internet, because anybody in the world can put something into your inbox. You don't need any special permission. Somebody can just send you an email and it shows up in your inbox. But remember, this is where all your password resets go for your bank, for your mortgage, whatever. Everything goes to your email. Your emails are the key. Your email address is the keys to your kingdom.
Yeah.
I say keep a separate email address that you use for your financial stuff that your friends will never send you an invitation on. Have a personal, I have so many email addresses.
I was going to say they're free for most of us.
Right.
I mean, you can pay for them if you wish, but it's pretty easy to get good free ones. So why not?
Yeah.
It's getting easier to manage it, and with the password manager, it's pretty easy to manage all those different logins. So highly recommend that approach. It's a good one if you feel like doing it. I know for some of us who've had email addresses since time immemorial, it may seem like a heavy lift to shift that over, but it's actually not too bad. So
it's not.
It's worth doing. I agree. It's a good idea.
And of course, we want to thank this week's sponsor, ThreatLocker. Go to threatlocker.com/HH and check out their Zero Trust Endpoint Protection Platform. That's the words threat and locker with no space.com/HH, where you can request a demo and neutralize the threat of malware running on your devices.
That is Hacking Humans, brought to you by N2K Cyberwire. We'd love to know what you think of this podcast. Your feedback ensures that we deliver the insights that keep you a step ahead in the rapidly changing world of cybersecurity. If you like the show, please share a rating and review in your podcast app. Please also fill out the survey in the show notes or send an email to hackinghumans@n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K Cyberwire is part of the daily routine of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. N2K makes it easy for companies to optimize your biggest investment, your people. We make you smarter about your teams while making your team smarter. Learn how at n2k.com. This episode is produced by Liz Stokes. Our executive producer is Jennifer Iben. We're mixed by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester. Peter Kilby is our publisher. I'm Maria Varmazis.
And I'm Joe Kerrigan.
Thanks for listening.